Not what you want to see as Melissa is starting to get itself better organized as it's set to undergo rapid intensification over the weekend. What's going on, guys? Certified meteorologist Jonathan Kegas back with you. Through the course of this video, we're going to break down the timeline and potential impacts for our friends in Jamaica, Eastern Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and into the Cayman Islands. We're thinking about you guys. It is likely going to be a really rough weekend and into early next week, but we're going to do our best to give you the best information possible. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from. I'd like to know your thoughts. If you've been watching this come together, meteorologically speaking, and we're going to get into it. The forecast for the United States, it's coming up towards the end of the video, but the bulk is going to be on Melissa here, as this could be, likely will be significant. If it does, in fact, come on land, it will have catastrophic impacts, even though I know the island nations are well prepared for these things. This is going to be a very powerful hurricane, at least most of the island nations. Here we go in Jamaica. We have the opportunity for a landfall of a Category 4 storm. The cone is still wide, but down the center line there, you see the Hurricane Center puts a 140-mile-per-hour storm in and around the southern end of Jamaica late Tuesday morning into the early stages of the afternoon. Intensity could peak that Monday 2 a.m. thing. That is before that the plates are just all kind of jumbled up as it's slow moving, so the cone looks kind of weird. But that would be approaching Cat 5 status south of the island as it's lifting to the north. Again, there is still a possibility that it does not make landfall in Jamaica. It might be a little bit of wish casting there, as most model guidance continues to paint the picture of a landfall in central or eastern Jamaica, then getting up to Cuba and close to Haiti and the Cayman Islands. So still a lot to watch. It's more and more certain that there's going to be significant impacts. However, the fine tuning this weekend will be who gets the worst of the worst, if that makes sense, right along that small corridor of the eye wall. That's where the worst of the wind is going to be. The heavy rain event is going to be widespread. We'll take a look at the potential wind gusts. We'll take a look at the potential rainfall coming up. There are the models, and again, only one that's going to be the GFS. It still wants to kind of keep it off the island a little bit. That would be great. I mean, again, great is a relative term because it's going to be ugly everywhere, but it would just lessen really terrible impacts. The orange line here, that's the TV con, that's the consensus model. The Hurricane Center really likes to use that one. It's a reliable consensus model. That puts pretty much worst case scenario for Kingston. The white line there is the center line of the official forecast cone that I just showed you there. And that's how the cone is drawn. The official forecast line is created by the Hurricane Center, and then they draw circles around their the line of the historical error. So that's why the cone is so big. European ensembles, I've been showing to these guys for 10 days now. I like to show it to account for some of the outliers, and you see there's not many. Jamaica is underneath all of those, most of them, of the 51 European ensembles. Then it lifts up into Cuba, into the Turks and Caicos. This looks like it is going to be significant. Coming up from a different way than Gilbert did, we'll take a look at Gilbert's old track from 1988. That's the storm of record for some on the island if it does make landfall. And there's still an if there. Again, it could wobble off. Could be more impactful than Gilbert across parts of the island. That one went across the whole island of Jamaica. That's the storm of record, at least that we all remember if you live there. All right. Saturday, 3 o'clock, it is likely still going to be trying to get itself together. And then once we get into Sunday, that's when it should explode. You see that hook back to the north and east. This is the European model, by the way. This is early in the morning on Tuesday. So sometime on Tuesday, this thing is likely going to be heading towards a landfall. And you see the spiral there. That's where the center could be. The European one's a little bit further west of the Hurricane center line right now. That would put the dirty side of the storm, which is the worst side, the right side of the circulation, through most of the island of Jamaica. That's again early on Tuesday. And then you see it sliding up into eastern Cuba as a strong Category 2 storm, at least by Hurricane Center forecast, and then up through the Turks and Caicos, finally leaving most of us alone by 7 o'clock on Thursday morning, although there is still flow and moisture being kind of pulled out of the Caribbean to follow the storm. So more flooding could occur in the Dominican Republic and Haiti as all that moisture gets forced up the mountainous terrain. So even after the storm leaves the Caribbean, some significant impacts likely still coming to the Caribbean. In terms of the wind, this is going to be Sunday at lunchtime. We have wind on the island and around Kingston of 40 to 45 miles an hour. So that's going to be your tropical storm force wind gusts already happening. And then this is what we don't want to see. And then this is where we're still trying to fine tune. You see that ball of kind of white? That is where we're trying to figure out where this goes. These are wind gusts, not sustained miles per hour. These are gusts. Okay. When you have sustained winds of 140 at landfall, you could put higher gusts up. So this is where we're trying to figure out where does that little angry area go, the eye wall, the worst part of the storm. That's who gets the rainfall plus the worst of the winds. And you see, those are no doubt significant. Right now, the European is pegging the central part of the island going over Kingston as it kind of gets ripped back to the northeast over Jamaica. Still significant. We have wind gusts pushing 100 miles an hour. The island nation of Jamaica will weaken that somewhat, but nonetheless, still significant winds coming into eastern Cuba. Rain to come from this event. We're pushing 3 feet of rain in some spots, especially on the south side on the where the wind is going up against the mountains. 24 to 28 inches, probably likely more than that too, in and around Kingston. And then still the southern end of Haiti getting rocked with the rain, even though the core of the storm is well to our west. And then pushing 2 feet of rain in parts of eastern Cuba. That lifting up to the Turks and Caicos to some degree as we move into Friday. So I wanted to show you that as I'm kind of rapid firing here a little bit. I want to show you, for those that don't remember, and you might be asking about, okay, what happened with Gilbert? This was Gilbert. It made landfall as a Cat 3. It was coming up the southeast corner of Jamaica as a Category 4, weakened, quote unquote, I mean, barely, to still a major hurricane Category 3 that kind of buzzsawed right across the entire island. So that put kind of the northern side of Jamaica all in the dirty side. So this one's going to be different in the sense that it is kind of lifting up somewhere like this. Sorry for my terrible drawing. Something like this. So that's what we're going to be watching over the next couple of days to see where on the island gets the eye wall. And I'm hopeful that maybe we get lucky here. And again, this is me wish casting. And again, I know we're looking at reality here, but maybe it'll wobble and we'll keep the core off the island. Impacts will still be strong, but just trying to get you guys through this. And it's just it's kind of hard to look at when you see the wind and the rain like this, and you have no power to kind of stop it coming through. So that's what we're kind of looking at. Stay tuned to the forecast. Again, it is going to be significant either way. We're just watching and forecasting and trying to pinpoint who gets the worst of the worst now at this point in the game. It looks like it's somewhere on the island of Jamaica. We're thinking about you guys. And again, I'm going to do my best to keep you posted through the weekend as well as we're watching this come together. By the way, I'm going to have a live loop up on our other channel. I'm going to post that in the end card at the end of this, and through the course of this popping up, and I'll put it in the description as well, so you can stay up to date with the latest forecast from the Hurricane Center and all of that stuff. That's going to be included, so you can get all the latest satellite data and all that stuff, that live loop. In terms of the state, Saturday we have some storm potential in the south. That atmospheric river continues to crank out as well in the Pacific Northwest. You see that right there, that upper level flow sliding through. You see that pinwheel there, heavy rain and snow, mountain snow through parts of British Columbia, and then down through the Cascades of the United States. That is going to continue. Then pinwheel into the mountains of Idaho. So it's a sign. Winter is coming for sure. Great Lakes still nice and chilly. Detroit, we're at 54 on Saturday, 56 in Pittsburgh, 62 in Roanoke, 83 in Orlando, back to the mid-80s in San Antonio, a little cooler for us, relatively speaking, 80 in Houston, and then we're still poised to get that big blast of colder air in the eastern third of the country prior to Halloween. We're going to highlight that a little bit more in detail as we get a little bit closer, but just want to give you guys that heads up because most of this, again, was tracking Melissa, as this is going to be a very significant storm, unfortunately, potentially catastrophic. I don't use that word lightly. The last time I've used that word was right before Helene got to North Carolina. Okay, so those that know me know I don't throw that word around like other YouTubers do. If I say that catastrophic word, I mean it. I'm holding off on trying to guarantee where that catastrophe could be because that eye could wobble off of Jamaica and it may not be, quote unquote, as bad. but certainly looking at potential catastrophic impacts from this very dangerous hurricane in the making. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're thinking about you guys in the Caribbean for sure. If you found this content helpful, please hit that thumbs up button. Consider joining the team, and we'll catch you next time.